households. I'm your host, Gary Baumgarten. Well, some breaking news out of Pakistan. This has been a developing story, as we all know, over the past several weeks. The detained opposition leader, Benazir Bhutto, who, upon her triumphant return to Pakistan, her motorcade was attacked, has called for President Musharraf to step down. This is a major. The opposition leaders are applauding her decision to call Musharraf to step down. The situation is this. Musharraf, because of what I believe is a political emergency, not a security emergency, has declared a state of emergency in Pakistan. He has agreed to take his uniform off as he runs for re-election. He has agreed to hold elections in Pakistan, but he continues this state of emergency. And the opposition is saying, how can you hold free elections while you have a state of emergency? You have to drop the state of emergency. You have to allow Bhutto to move about the country and visit whoever she pleases and talk to whomever she wishes. You have to allow for discourse in this election process. Maybe not surprising to many, but the President of the United States, George Bush, has been defending Musharraf. He says that Musharraf has been moving in the right direction here. The United States is in a very awkward position of supporting a government which has cut down on freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech among its citizens. At the same time, supposedly Musharraf is on the front lines, and literally the front lines with Afghanistan, in the fight against Al-Qaeda, and the incursion of Al-Qaeda into Pakistan and elsewhere in the world. So he's supposed to be one of the good guys, and people are afraid, I think, in Western nations, especially since Pakistan has the bomb. If the fundamentalists take over the government of Pakistan, where will we be now? And of course, with the animosity long time between India and Pakistan, both of them in the nuclear age here, both of them having the bomb, are we going to have a nuclear conflagration between Pakistan and India? And by all measures, we should try to stop that from occurring. But on the other hand, at what price? At the price of freedoms, the very freedoms that we cherish. You know, we're all into this democratization of the rest of the world, imposing this on other people. Well, if that's the case, how can we continue to support a regime that is cutting down on the freedoms of people? I mean, what's the difference between what Musharraf is now doing in Pakistan and what the illegal military junta is doing in Burma? And if we are going to speak out against the human rights violations in Burma, should we not be consistent and speak out about the human rights violations in Pakistan? So what do? Is this simplistic, where you say, okay, if you're not going to allow freedoms, then we're not going to support you? Or do we have to be more sophisticated and look at the nuances and go for the lesser of 2 or 3 or 4 evils and support that, even though the conduct of those leaders in those countries where we are supporting them because of the alternative is as reprehensible as the conduct in other nations where we are forthright in our condemnation? And does that make us hypocritical in our approach to this? It's not an easy task at all. I would think that if Musharraf wants our continued assistance, when I say ours, I'm referring, of course, to the government of the United States, that he's got to lift the state of emergency and allow for freedoms. Full stop. Otherwise, he risks the United States of America. And the other Western nations who are supporting Pakistan, this particular government of Pakistan, should take the same forthright position. I think we as a world community have to be consistent and serious about our opposition to human rights violations. You know, we are ignoring these human rights violations around the world, and we're picking and choosing where we're going to exert our influence and where we're going to oppose these kinds of things, and where we're going to support freedom and democracy. I found it interesting that Kevin Seitz was our guest, one of our guests yesterday, and he covered wars in 20 nations in 365 days of reporting. And I thought, well, that's pretty amazing that you went to 20 countries and Iran, 20 countries that are involved in war, and Iran, which may soon be involved in war, and reported from those nations in 365 days. He says, well, I couldn't get to them all. So what do you mean you couldn't get to them all? He says, well, there are about 30 armed conflicts going around the world right now. 30! 30 going on around the world right now. And this is a world of the haves and the have-nots, increasingly so, I believe. Well, where are the haves when it comes to these wars that are going on when it comes to the have-nots? And the people that are dying repeatedly and the people who are affected repeatedly in these wars are the common citizens, not the people who are involved in one side or other of this conflict, not the government and the anti-government forces. They're the human beings who are not involved in these conflicts, who are the innocent bystanders, might go out and demonstrate for their freedoms, and they're getting killed. And no, they're not gunning down people in Pakistan, not yet, but they are arresting people who dare to stand on the street corner and support Benazir Bhutto or any of the other opposition leaders in Pakistan. That's like saying, if I'm opposed to the President of the United States and his war in Iraq, and I'm an elderly woman, part of the Grey Panthers, and I'm going to protest at Times Square in front of the U.S. Army recruiting station, I can't do that without being arrested? That doesn't... Oh, wait a minute, actually that did happen. I take that back. Okay, let's go to the callers and see what you all have to say. I want to have a very engaging conversation about this issue. And by the way, I shouldn't be doing this because there are people listening on CRN who are not in front of a computer, not reading the Paltalk screen. And you're all welcome to your positions on this and any other issue. And I know that in text, sometimes the text speaks to the issue at hand, sometimes it doesn't. And I know there are all kinds of other conversations going on, and that is great. But I just want to point out to those of you who are engaged in this very vibrant discussion about Israel, that we are not talking about Israel today, we're talking about Pakistan. And if you can show me how this discussion about Pakistan relates to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, please feel free to raise your hand in the virtual auditorium. Be screened by Boaz Franco, my online producer and show screener, and do come to the microphone and enlighten me about this issue, because I really don't know how discussing Pakistan relates to Israel. Oriana, could you do me a favor? I think the top of my head disappeared. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, okay, let's get to the callers. Our first caller is Cassandra, who is in the United Kingdom. She is with our affiliate ASI Online. Welcome to the show, Cassandra.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. Let's see where we start. It's such a complex issue. It's very difficult to know absolutely where to start. For a start, I think that what Musharraf said was, when he was elected for a further 5 years,